Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Esoterica and our continuing series. I review every Capcom CPS, CP System Dash, CPS2, and CPS3 game ever made. And today we're having a combo episode of Street Fighter: The New Generation, Second Impact, and Third Strike. And this is the final video in the CPS review series, and wow, have I made a lot of them. But these games are so similar, and I love them all so much, I wanted to combine them into one episode. Well, we're starting off with Second Impact, and there's a particular reason why I love this entry more than any of the other ones, and I'm sure if you can't tell already, it's in the corners of this image. For some reason, Capcom made Second Impact 16 by wide, widescreen compatible. It's the only game of the three that they did that for. I'm not sure why they did it, but I absolutely love them for having done it. It's just so much more visually interesting than the 4:3 aspect ratio, and I wish all three games allowed for it. Before we get too far involved, though, if you can do me a huge favor, go down below and hit like, subscribe, ring that notification bell. Definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, we got a Patreon link down there as well. But the entire Street Fighter 3 franchise is a great series. I would say it's second only to Street Fighter Alpha. But when this came out, it wasn't very popular because at that point in time, 3D fighting games were all the rage. But Capcom stuck with 2D sprite work and backgrounds. And I really appreciate that they did that because when Capcom was working on 3D stuff in this era, it wasn't as good as the Tekkens of the world. So it's good that they stuck to their strengths and decided to stick with 2D. Because I will say the visuals in all of these games are absolutely spectacular. All of the animations on Elena, they are hyper fluid. I would say the only game that could rival this as far as animation quality is concerned would be Geru Mark of the Wolves on the Neo Geo. And even though I'm a huge Neo Geo fan and Mark of the Wolves is one of my favorite games of all time, I own an AES copy, I would probably give the edge to Street Fighter 3 as far as animation quality is concerned. When I spent so much time talking about the presentation of this game, we need to get right into the mechanics. I love Street Fighter 3, but not as much as Alpha, and one of the things that I particularly wish they had kept from the Alpha series is being able to block in mid-air. I love that about Alpha. It was an extra little benefit and bonus that I really appreciated. I'm a little bummed out that they didn't carry it through for Street Fighter 3. But I definitely prefer this much more to Street Fighter 2. I've never been a huge fan of that particular franchise. I know people love it, consider it one of the best fighting games of all time. I can appreciate it for what it is, I just never super mesh with it. But Street Fighter 3, all of the entries in the franchise, I think they're all absolutely spectacular. So it doesn't matter which version you play, you're going to have a good time. Now, subjectively, Third Strike is probably the best in the series because it has the largest roster and the most refinement, but I just can't help but love this 16 by 9 on Second Impact. It's just my absolute favorite game to play visually, and I wish that Capcom had kept that 16 by 9 presentation when they moved into Third Strike because it is absolutely stunning. But the interesting thing about Street Fighter 3 is just how different it really is. There's so many new characters, some that we've never seen again after this franchise and some that have carried forward. But Capcom basically went straight back to the drawing board when they were making Street Fighter 3 and decided to add so many new characters, different gameplay mechanics, making it feel completely different than Street Fighter 2, and I think that was a really wise design decision because people have been playing Street Fighter 2 for a long time and there have been so many re-releases of that game, changing slight things such as speed or character selection. The fact that they made Street Fighter 3 so different is great. But moving right on to New Generation, the first in the three games, this is the one that I would probably recommend the least. It is still a ton of fun, but of course the rosters are going to be the smallest. It's going to have, the least refinement of any of the games, but it is a really good starting point, especially if you're not familiar with the mechanics of how Street Fighter 3 work. It's a really nice place to go ahead and learn what's going on. And I do like that in this version, you get some backgrounds that have multiple different looks to them. You're going to see that the time of day has changed, and on the next stage you're going to basically fall through a bridge and something entirely different is going to happen. But I would say the soundtrack of all three of these games is amazing as well, so go ahead and listen for about 45 seconds and I'll come back and tell you more why. If you haven't played Street Fighter 3 yet, today's the day. But enjoy.
You win. Round 2.
just really is a great soundtrack, and again, I can't get over how good these visuals do look. Street Fighter 3 definitely made the CPS3 shine as far as the hardware was concerned, but I just wish they had kept the widescreen because the game doesn't have the same impact in 4:3. It's like Capcom knew that it was better, but for some strange reason only included that feature on the second game in the franchise. It's a really strange choice, but hey, who am I to complain? The games are still amazing. But moving on to Third Strike right now, you're going to see this is the largest roster by far of the 3 games, and if you're going to really dedicate time to one of them, unless you're like me and absolutely want to use that 16:9 mode, Third Strike is going to be the version of the game you want to play. This came out on Dreamcast, it came out on PlayStation 2. It's basically available on absolutely any platform you would want to play it on, so just pick one and go from there. I'd say maybe the PlayStation 2 version is the one that I would avoid over some of the other ones, but honestly it's still pretty good and you'll have a good time no matter what's going on. But I love the diversity in characters in Street Fighter. Everyone plays and feels slightly different. Dudley here, a puncher, he's your power attack move. I've always loved Dudley as a character, just that classic quintessential British guy wearing his suspenders, and he's a boxer. It's just a fun little touch, and this game is filled with fun little touches. And like I said, I could have broken these out into 3 different episodes, but honestly, I just wanted to talk about Street Fighter 3 as a whole, because all the games build onto each other and really feel iterative, where it doesn't matter which one you play, you're going to have an awesome time. Start with 1, play 2, and then go to 3. Start with 3, go to 1, and play 2. It doesn't matter where you pick up and start this franchise, just do it if you haven't. That's my #1 recommendation. But just like the first 2 games, Street Fighter 3 Third Strike has an amazing soundtrack as well, so get about 30 seconds worth of that because it is so good, and I'll be right back.
Into the heat of battle, go for it!
In some ways, the soundtrack reminds me of Saturn Bomberman, and that's a high praise to give because I think that's one of the best soundtracks of all time. But I love Street Fighter 3, and I miss this Capcom. Street Fighter 4 was fun, Street Fighter 5 started off rough and got better, and now it's good, but I miss the 2D Capcom with all their sprite work. And I get it, the generations have moved on, I'm in my mid-30s, people want 3D now, but if there's some way that Street Fighter 6 could be 2D sprite work, I would be absolutely happy to have that. What I do love about Third Strike is these ridiculous transitions. We get a bonus stage here, and it's going to be Akuma versus SUV. I just think that's hilarious and always makes me laugh. I'm not sure who at Capcom hated the concept of cars, but they give you every opportunity possible to destroy them. Street Fighter 2, Street Fighter 3, Final Fight, see a car, destroy a car. It's unnecessary in the grand scheme of the gameplay, but it is just so much fun to be able to take that break and destroy an SUV with your fists. But yeah, that is Street Fighter 3. It's an absolutely incredible series. If you, for some reason, never played it, I 100% recommend you do so. But guys, this has been a ton of fun. I have reviewed every single Capcom CPS, CP System Dash, CPS2, and CPS3 game. I did skip the puzzle games, the trivia ones, because those aren't really games and they're all in Japanese, so I can't play them. But Capcom made so many incredible games on these 3 platforms. It's historic, it's iconic, and it's been a ton of fun reviewing all of them. So what I'm going to be doing next Wednesday, well, I've done this for Capcom, I should probably do it for somebody else. But short of that, if you have any questions or comments, I'll leave them down below. Thanks so much for watching this whole series, guys. If you're coming in late, the playlists are in my channel. Short of that, Street Fighter 3, absolutely incredible. Capcom, incredible. And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Are you ready? Go!